Hello everyone and welcome to my corner of the world. Today I'm going to be sharing a little 3D project with you. It's a little box that has scratch paper inside as well as a little calendar on the outside, and it's perfect for having on your desk there or maybe on a work surface that you can just go ahead and grab a piece of paper when you need to make a note. Now it holds a piece of paper that is, let me get this right, 4 1/4 by 2 3/4, which basically is a piece of copy paper divided into 8 pieces, and then it slips in there perfectly, and we've all got access to copy paper, so we can always do a refill. Right, now my colours today are Orchid Oasis and Soft Sea Foam. And Soft Sea Foam is probably one of my favourite colours. And although it's in the Subtles family of colours, I think it makes a fantastic neutral. And I've used it with Night of Navy, Merry Merlot, Cherry Cobbler, Early Espresso. And it seems to go well with all of those colours. And so I am pairing it today, as I said, with Orchid Oasis. Now, this piece of cardstock here is going to be the main part of the box. And it is 8 7/8 by 6 7/8. And I can hear you groaning with those 8ths. But as I've said before, with the Stampin' Up! Cut paper trimmer, it's so easy to cut 8ths. You can see here we've got the 2 inch and the 3 inch. There's our half, there's our quarter, and then halfway between is an 8th. And this, as I say, it's really easy to cut a piece of card that's that side. So then I have scored it at 1 inch, 2 inch, 6 3/8 and 7 3/8 along the long side, and then it's scored at 1, 2, 4 7/8. In fact, if I did it this way, 4 7/8, and then my last one is at 5 7/8. So I've already started trimming it to make my box, and I've left the other side to do and show you. So basically, we need to lose some pieces of paper, pieces of cardstock. And so on this end that has got the longest piece between the last score line and the edge of the paper, we're going to lose those 2 pieces there. And then on each of the corners on this end, we're going to lose those 3 pieces there. So it's going to be the same both sides. So I'm just going to start by trimming, and I'm following my score line, and I'm taking it up to this score line here. So that's 1 piece we can lose, and then these next 3 pieces, we're going to lose those as well. So those are the bits that are going. We don't need those anymore. Now we're going to create our tabs. So we've got, this is one of our tabs here, and there's the other matching one. And then this is tab, and the matching one is over here. So to create the tabs, I am just going to cut a small wedge off of here. And then I'm going to cut down, and I'm going to cut slightly to the left of the score line. And then again, I'm going to put another notch. And then this one here, I'm going to cut here. And I'm going to cut here. All right, now you probably noticed that I cut this a slightly different way, and that's okay because it's still going to work when we put the box together. It's just instead of it tucking back into this part, it's going to tuck into that part, which is fine. It's not going to cause any problem. Now I'm also just going to take a little wedge off of each of these pieces here. These are going to actually tuck inside the box. This is quite a strong box. It's actually double, it's got a double thickness on the sides. Now we're not going to take any wedges off of this bit down here. We don't need anything off of there. All right, so there's our piece, our piece, and I'm going to go ahead and put my score lines in. Now I'm using my bone folder, and I'm also putting quite a lot of pressure because I want really good folds. And if you've followed me in the past, you'll know that I say the secret to a good box is good folds. So I'm just going to attach that like that, and then round the corner. Now I gave you measurements a few moments ago, and I know that it's hard to be watching the video and trying to take down the information. But if you look below this video, you will see a link to my blog, and that link will take you exactly to the post on this particular project. And on there will be all the information you need in terms of the size of your card and the score lines and the supplies. So there's my piece. Now I'm going to add my double-sided tape. Now we're going to work on the inside of what will be the inside of the box to start with, and that's the bits where everything is folded inward. And with my double-sided tape, I'm going to add some to each of these tabs. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to add a piece to each of these larger tabs that we didn't do any trimming on. They're just going to be on the outside of the box. And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to add tape to the 4 tabs that I created. So I just like to pop it sort of diagonally across the tab. It just works for me. Now you can use liquid adhesive for this, but you will need to let the adhesive dry between each stage, so that the box doesn't sort of misshape as you are working through, because the adhesive hasn't quite dried. But liquid adhesive will work perfectly well as well. So I'm just going to burnish my tape. That just helps it stick better. And before I go any further, I am going to cut myself a little notch in what is going to be the sort of front end of the box here. So that's the end that's got the sort of 2 smaller pieces rather than this one up here. And I'm just going to fold it down, and I'm going to slip a punch. Now this is a 1-inch punch. It's been retired, but you can use most any punch that you have in your stash. So I'll just go about halfway down the punch there, and there we've got a nice little finger hole ready to go. And now I'm ready to assemble my box. We're going to start with the 4 tabs, and I like to just take a piece of backing off at a time. Then I'm not sort of wrangling lots of adhesive. So I'm going to bring this cut edge here down to match this fold on this corner. I'm going to give it a good old pinch to make sure that it's well and truly stuck down. And then the same, just matching that cut edge up to the fold. And then this piece. Now I'm just pointing out that that tab has gone into the main part of the box. It's not attached to this in any way. And the same for this one as well. Then I'm going to get my bone folder and really press those joints down really, really firmly, because I don't want them popping out. Now that I've got that part done, we're going to put these pieces in, and that gives the box the extra strength it needs, rather than just having a single layer of card. And part of the reason that we took those little wedges off the corners of these tabs is that it just makes it a little easier, if you look, to put that in nice and flat without having loads of card stuck in that tiny little corner, which would be a little bulky and not give you a good finish. So again, I'm running my bone folder down on that joint. So there we've got our nice box, and then these pieces are going to go over the top like that. Now I'm going to take the tape off one at a time. And I can see that when I put my tape down, it just overlapped a tiny little bit outside my card. So I'm just going to use my tool just to bring it back over so that it's not exposed. So don't go getting your scissors out and trimming it, because all you're going to do is get yucky scissors. But you can just fold it back on itself and it'll be fine. So I'm just making sure that this cut edge lines up with this fold again, and give it a squeeze, and then repeat on the other side. And just making sure everything is nice and square and lined up. And then we're just gonna, you've guessed it, I'm just gonna go in with my bone folder and make sure that I've got a good seal on that. So there's our cute little box. Now we need to make sure that when we put the lid on, that there's something to hitch it behind. And I've got a little strip of cardstock here, and this is a 1/4 inch wide, and it needs to be, the length of it needs to be the length of the box. So I'm just going to just trim it slightly Now, if I did my I didn't do my math right, so this should have been like double the length, but never mind. I can still make this work. So this is slightly shorter than the other piece. So I am going to attach this to the back of this piece. And I'm going to use my bone folder to give that a good smooth, make sure that's a good stick. And then we're going to pop it here. And I'm going to use my liquid again. And I'm just going to line it up with the very edge. Like that. And I'm going to need to let that sit for a moment, just to make sure that that dries. All right. So I can get on with doing a bit of decoration in the meantime. My paper is from the Splendid Day paper pack, and this, those of you who know me know why I love this paper pack, because it's full of shiny, and I do love shiny. But I chose to use one of the matte ones. It still has a sheen. It's more of a satin than a matte, isn't it? Isn't that beautiful? And this, I've got 2 pieces of cardstock here, 2 3/4 by 2, and then my piece of designer series paper is 2 1/2 by 1 3/4. So I'm just going to attach one piece to one piece of card, and I've done it so that I've got a bit of a margin around there. So that's one. And then I have my little calendar. Now, I buy these. I get them from a company called Vippies here in the US. It's their medium size one. I just want you to know that I'm not being paid to endorse their product. I'm just letting you know that's where I get my little calendars. And each one has got a nice sticky strip on the back. And I can then just use that to stick that down. Now, this will run through to December 2023, but if you happen to have another calendar for 2024 and you're still using your box, you can always put a new calendar on there, and that will work beautifully. So we're going to use some dimensionals to attach it to the box when we get to that point. So one on each corner. There. And I still want to give this a little bit more time to set up. So I'm going to do my little greeting. So I have some cardstock. This is the soft sea foam again, and some white. And my greeting is from Painted Pheasant. And it just says a pleasant little note, and you can use whatever you have in your stash, but I quite like that that pleasant piece. So I've got Orchid Oasis ink. I'm just going to stamp there. And that's all the stamping that we have on this card. It's very light on stamping. It's not a card project. And then I'm going to cut it out, and I'm using the Beautiful Shapes dies, and I like this one. It's got hexagons, it's got circles, it's got some sort of unusual shapes here, which would make a good piece for a greeting. And I like the fact that it's got layering sizes, and then we're going to be using that for this card. I keep calling it a card. I'm sorry, this box. So I'm just going to line up my die, and I've got some sticky here just to hold it in place. And then we're just going to run it through. And I don't run it through very fast because I want to make sure that I get a good cut. And going fast can sometimes mean that the blades don't hit all the paper. So there's my greeting. And then I've got the next size up, which is this hexagon, and I'm just going to run that through. I don't need to use any sticky for this because if it moves a little when it goes through, it's not going to mess up the centering of my greeting. Right. So when I'm working at my desk and I'm using dies, I always have this little pot next to me that I put my dies in and out of, and that way they don't get lost on my workbench, they don't get knocked on the floor, and I'm less likely to lose them. So a little bit of adhesive, I'm just going to line this up. And there's my little greeting. So is that nice? I mean, if you're going to be looking at this box every day at your desk, to just see that sitting there saying a pleasant little note, I think that's a nice thing to see. Okay, this is now firmly stuck. I'm really happy with that. So I've got my next piece of card, and this is soft sea foam again, and it's 5.5 by 2 7/8, and I've scored it at 1 inch and 3¼ inches, and I'm going to put in my scores, so they're going to go one on top of the other, so you're going to end up with that sort of shape. And we're going to add some double-sided tape, and I'm going to be popping it on this 1 inch flap, and I want to put 2 layers on there, 2 strips. Again, this piece is going to be moving up and down, and I want to make sure that it's not going to come adrift with just having one piece of tape. Again, you can use your liquid adhesive, but it will just take a few moments to dry. All right, so I'm going to start by just taking a little of my backing off on this, and I'm just going to make it go outwards like that. And then I am going to line up this top edge with that fold, that score there, and I'm going to position it like this and make sure that it's all lined up on the side here. And then I'm going to pop it down like that, and I'm very gently going to pull away that piece of tape, And then I'm going to do the same from the inside. And that means I wasn't wrangling with loads of tape. And then again, in with my bone folder. I'm going to use the back end this time because it's broader. And really push that down just to make sure it's all tucked in. And then this piece will go underneath there like that. Now I'm just going to make sure that I've got a good fold there. Now like that, it can pop out quite easily, but when we get the decorative pieces on, it adds a bit of extra weight to this, and it helps hold it down in the in the little bar that we've put there. So we're going to start by adding the piece of decorative paper. Now you could always, if you're perhaps going to give this as a gift, you could always put a monogram on this rather than the note, or you can put both the note and a monogram. That would be really cute to receive. And then we're going to pop the calendar down. And I'm just centering it up on my little box lid, like that. So that's going to go like that. And then my greeting, I am just going to tuck about here. And I just want to make sure that it doesn't go outside this footprint of my box here. Otherwise it'll sort of get damaged and maybe knocked off. So I'm just going to use a couple of dimensionals, and I'm going to make sure that I've put it at the right place, which is toward the bottom here. I love making 3D items and little gifty treaty things. It just shows you how versatile card with some ink and paper and what have you, how versatile it can be. And maybe I'll just add a little, because we haven't got any bling on it. And those of you who know me know that I do like my bling. So I think I'm just going to put a little pearl up there like that. Just one, just as a gentle nod to my need for bling. And then I've got my little pack of paper. This will actually hold 200 pieces of paper. Don't ask me how I know. It just does. So I'm just going to slip that in there like that. And there I have my cute little note box. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed this project. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. If you have, perhaps you'll go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, perhaps you'll go ahead and do that as well. And if you have any comments, I'd love to read them. It's been a pleasure spending some time with you today, and I thank you for that. And I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye for now.